Welcome to the Business Boom Podcast, powered by Boomtag Media. Each week, we are sitting down with growth-obsessed, dynamic entrepreneurs, marketing experts, and business owners who have cracked the code to explosive growth. I'm your host, Kendra Noel. Let's take things to the next level and spark your business into its boom era. Okay, I'm back for another episode of the Business Boom Podcast. This is episode 11, and today I have Americo DaCosta joining as the guest. Hey, Americo.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. We were talking before going live. We got some thunderstorms moving in, so I'm a little excited, I want to say, because it's just going to cool things down. We're just not used to the 100+ temperatures here in Toronto.
Yeah, I understand that. We don't usually get that hot either, but it looks like our live has connected because I see that we already have an audience member joining in the chat. So that's good to know that everything's working. So I'm excited to just dive into the conversation with you today. We have a lot to talk about.
Oh, we do?
We do. I hope you're prepared for it.
Bring it on. I've for anyone who's followed me and ask the question, so how long do you go on sometimes? Hey, most times when I'm hosting, I schedule our events for an hour, but I've been on events where we talk for 2-3 hours. So
Wow.
if you want to talk, I can talk.
Well, it's good to have a yapper on stage for sure. I just want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and introduce yourself before we get started.
Why, thank you. My name's Americo DaCosta. I am the founder of Journey Logic. And I'm here to help people be seen, be heard, and be remembered. That is my mantra. You hear me talking a lot about that. It has a framework that brings customer experience together and focuses on showing up where your customers are so that you can be seen, your message can be heard, and most importantly, you're delivering an experience that customers and your audience will remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really resonating. Like I follow you and I see the post and I see like the traction gaining and the seen, heard, and remembered mantra is definitely gaining some traction.
You talk about customer experience and people will, okay, yeah, that's great, and then they move on. But then you talk about things that perhaps are more meaningful to them. They stop. You know, I'm a big believer that visuals, and I'll share some stats in a bit when you ask your questions. But the visuals are so important. The sound effects, you got to make an event memorable. And if your material is dry, which some has the tendency of being dry, that's just what it is. Listen, I worked in insurance for a good number of years. I'm almost afraid to tell you how many years. But listen, insurance, the documentation, the conversations, great cure for insomnia. So how do you liven that up? Yeah, you talk to Americo and he takes care of that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I made a comment on one of those posts recently and say, well, I think that's what people are looking for. They have a desire to be seen, for one, because so many times they're maybe showing up on social media is still feeling unseen, and
That's
that
right.
their message would be heard. And then, of course, who doesn't want to be remembered or make their mark on something?
Well, let's pick up on that for a moment, and I'll share the first stat.
Oh, perfect.
So, and I learned this recently, and it just ties in so nicely with the message that I'm trying to get in front of my community. When it comes to written content, and listen, I thought I was good at it, and turns out that I wasn't. But the written word, which only about roughly 25% of people consume content through reading. That information that they're reading is retained 10% of the time if you ask them 3 days later, hey, what did Americo write earlier this week? Only 10% retain what was written. Whereas if you show up in your audible presence, if you show up in the video presence, your message gains more visibility and is retained 65% of the time at that same 3-day period.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that statistic is true, and partially because I know that that's to be true for the type of learning that I jive with. I mean, I just don't read. People buy me books, and I'm like, thank you. I'm gonna read that. I try to read, and it just does not go well for me. I have a friend who is an author, and he was on an episode of the podcast, and he was talking about his book launch and everything. And then when the book actually launched, he says, so Kendra, when are you going to buy your copy of the book? And I'm like, well, I'm really excited for you. When's the audio version going to be done? And he said, well, in about 10 weeks. And I'm like, well, then that's when I'm going to be getting your book. And I don't mean any offense by that, but that is honestly how I learn best, is by hearing and by seeing. So visual auditory definitely sticks more with me.
Yeah, and it sticks with a lot of people. And it's not to say that the written word is being forgotten and people aren't leaning into it. Just people learn and consume in different fashions, different formats. And if you limit yourself simply to the written content, then you're leaving yourself short of getting the visibility that you deserve, right? So when I say I want to help people be seen, heard, and remembered through virtual live events, doesn't mean that I'm going to suggest, drop what you're writing, leave the writing behind, and just focus on audio and focus on video. This is really about supplementing what you're currently doing, right? You want to broaden and you want to widen your visibility. At no point will I say, hey, drop what you're doing and focus on this. This is to supplement. And it works because it helps with repurposing. You can take your events and transcribe them and turn them into written content. So it makes life a lot easier, so that you're not competing with yourself trying to come up with event content and then written content. You can just blend it in and have it complement one another.
That is so great. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper into some of those strategies that you're talking about right now. Before we go into that, can we go back and do a little bit of storytelling and start with the moment that the panic set in on LinkedIn? Because I want to dive a little bit into what led you to helping clients with stages and this new kind of presence that we're talking about. So just from your memory, let's talk a little bit about what that was like. I see people in the comments. I know they're going to remember this like it was yesterday.
So at the end of 2024, LinkedIn made an executive decision to pull the plug on what many of us found to be a very favorable solution, the audio rooms. Now those audio rooms brought a lot of people to the conversation. It had a Clubhouse vibe without having to leave the platform. And December of 2024, LinkedIn made a decision. It's like, well, we're no longer going to support this. This is no longer viable. We're pulling the plug. And people were in panic. Where do we go? What are we going to do? The alternative is live events, but I'm not ready to go live. I don't know that my audience will show up. And listen, I just lean into that. I take my cross-functional experience from my corporate life, and change management is a necessary part of life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen constantly, and you just need to adapt and adopt and go with the changes. Stop digging your heels and focusing on, well, it was better. It was great. I want it back. Listen, it's not coming back. Just like my hair, it's not coming back. Right? So I jumped in. I tested out different platforms and really felt that Restream was the one that was, I guess, meant for me. And StreamYard is another one, and it's great. It's a comparable platform for multi-streaming, but there's really no need to have multiple memberships of different multi-streaming platforms. So I chose Restream. I have no affiliation with Restream, but that's the one I chose to go with. And it's been testing. A lot of people are worried and afraid, and I'm not afraid to share my vulnerabilities. I'm not afraid to share my stage and let people come in. It's like, hey, can you test something for me? And that's what we were doing December and January. I was just going live and inviting people. Hey, you have questions, you have anxiety, you want to see and feel what this experience is like. Come join me. And to this day, I'm still creating different stages, and I'm doing it on my brand so that the customers that I work with don't feel like they're forced into trying something. I now do audio events. I got talking thumbnails, and I got on-camera episodes, so people can experience the different variations of these live events. We do masterclass type of events. So you want to share information? Great. There's a way of doing that as well. Try to make it interactive, right? So to answer your question, December was the turning point, and I haven't looked back. I continue to test, and people continue to reach out and ask questions. And more importantly, it's like, hey, how can we make this work for my brand? Like, I love the energy, I love the vibe, and how can we make this work for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the fact that you were already like in a mode that change is going to come, because it does. In a corporate situation, things can change at the drop of a hat, and you can whine and complain, or you can just get on the bandwagon and move the team forward. So you are kind of already in that move the team forward type mentality. Like, okay, this change is here. Let's not go search out, like there were people leaving LinkedIn because they were so upset about this. But the live streaming, it works on more than just the LinkedIn platform. It really gives an opportunity to broaden your reach. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So reach and visibility is important for everyone. Like, whether you're a job seeker, whether you're a sales professional or a business owner, you want eyes and ears on what you have to deliver in terms of your message. And if you're only delivering your message in the written format, then you've kind of, you're working with your blinders on, and you can't see the community and the audience outside of your peripheral vision. You're just focused on writing. And when you look at engagement, and let's jump into that, these are averages, and some people experience better results. But when you look at engagement on LinkedIn specifically, the average engagement rates range from 4 to 6.5%. And that is, 4 being the average for text only, where 6.5 is the multi-image posts, the carousels. Whereas when you're comparing video and you're comparing live events, the significant difference is just astounding.
Yes.
You're looking at an average of, here, I just pulled it up. You're looking at an average of 41% engagement. Now, that 41% does require some work. Right? If you just did a pop-up show, if I decided not scheduling, I'm just going to go live as an impromptu decision, you're probably not going to get that engagement because you haven't really created that awareness and given people consideration to schedule the time on their calendars to show up. But when you do it right and you give it a long enough tail, you're going to see tremendous improvement in your engagement and that wider visibility.
Right. We have this comment I'd just like to highlight real quick from our friend Leah. She says, Meryl, I missed the audio-only events too, but I am enjoying the new opportunities that have opened up for me professionally. And Leah, I totally agree with this. Having to make the pivot was a little bit hard at first, but honestly, this podcast started kind of from that moment of panic. Like I had been thinking about it for a long time. The audio events, I had tried recording them. It didn't work. And so, our hands got pushed a little bit and like tied, well, now this is your only option. Turned out to be the best thing for me, really. But so you had to pivot as well, and then you saw this need arising of people needing help with the events. And they say that in entrepreneurship, a lot of it is about seeing a gap in the marketplace and stepping in to fill that gap. So let's talk more about how you're doing that and some of the solutions you're offering.
Yeah. So I don't want to turn it into a sales pitch, but thanks for opening the question. I'm happy to talk about it, because I'm that social seller. I will talk about the value. I will talk about the message, and less about my offer. And that's the beauty of virtual events. When you do it with intention, never go in with the idea that your live event is going to be an infomercial, because you're going to lose your audience, right? So I'm answering your question as I go along here. Approach your audio event or your video event or your podcast from a social selling lens. You're here to educate. You're here to bring value. And the minute that your audience aligns with the value that you're bringing, those emails will start to come up. The questions, the DMs, hey, can we talk? I'd like to learn more, will happen. Just like with anything else, if you try too hard, you're going to fail, right? And you're going to fall on your face, and you're going to learn, and then you're going to get yourself back up and try something else. Where others, I've also seen, they give it a try, and they get so consumed on no one showing up that they give it up. They do it 2-3 times and they give it up. Or they do it a handful of times. It's like, wow, this is a lot of work. I'm really not sure that I'm seeing the ROI from these events. And there's an ROI formula, which I can share, but I know this is going to the podcast streaming platform, so there's really no point in talking about it. But if you were to follow me and reach out, I would love to share what that formula is. And don't expect instant gratification, instant results. This is a long game.
Yeah.
You're going into the virtual space and virtual events with the understanding that the magic happens at the replay, right? And that is the key to the strategy. People will show up, and today's show is being recorded and will be rebroadcast and will be available for replay. But that's the magic. If you consider live television and live radio, people get in their car, they drive to work, or they drive wherever it is, they turn on the radio, or they start their morning routine with the breakfast television program. They stay for as long as they're able to. They join when they're able to, and then they leave. Mm-hmm. So we could be talking for an hour in this episode. The average listening is 8 minutes. But what I'm seeing time and time again, when our message aligns, people come back. And I see unique listens when compared to total listening, it's 3-1. So people come in, hey, they liked what they heard. Maybe not the best time. They got to step out of the car, or they got to go drop their kids off at a soccer game. And they come back and they're going to listen to another 8 to 10 minutes. So they consume it in bite-sized pieces. But when you compare an 8-minute consumption of this type of format, of this content, compared to the 6-second attention span when people are doom scrolling, you're further ahead. Like, don't be upset at yourself at only getting 8 to 10 minutes when everyone else is getting 6 seconds. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, that's very true. And then the repurposing just kind of is endless with these. When I like to repurpose by doing shorts. and putting those across a lot of different channels. And it's interesting to see, which ones those will take off on, which ones they don't do well on. I'm kind of always watching that and like trying to make them the ideal length and all of those things. But even if you don't get it exactly right, I think there's still so much you can do with an episode like this. Or even I've been trying this new thing, which is like a practice episode. Like it's not live, but I'm doing the repurposing for my clients. So we're having a conversation where they're able to like share their expertise and then like use the repurposing clips, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You can record without going live and use that in your video content that you're creating for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and these studios, like the one that we're using right now is Restream. And Americo, thank you. You did help me set up this studio, so I need to give you props for that. But there are, yeah, for sure. There's
Sorry, I had
different.
To throw that in.
That's awesome. Like you're all about making these interactive, so I love it. But even within that studio, there's different places within the studio, and it's not the Business Boom podcast studio that I'm in, but I can go in a separate studio with clients and have some time with them. So there's just like a lot of functionality for something like this. But what are some of the biggest missed opportunities that you see that entrepreneurs could be using this for?
Wow, that is a great question. The missed opportunities, and I think you touched on it. It's one thing to go live. There's, a whole mindset in going live and whether or not you're ready. And for those who are interested, I have a checklist that people can go through, and I'm willing to share that with the community. That kind of breaks down to get a good understanding of where you are in going live. And some will discover it's like, all right, we're maybe further away than we anticipated. But when you look at the versatility, hey, use this platform to what you suggested earlier, record yourself not being on live, get comfortable with the camera, get comfortable with the platform. And you will learn that there's opportunity, hidden gems, because you can then take your recording, and if you're good at editing, you can start creating content and video clips without having to go live. And it will save you, because a lot of us use multiple platforms, and I'm all about optimizing and making the most out of what we have. Because managing just multiple platforms becomes a full-time job in itself, having to export everything somewhere else. And then, when we went prior to going live, I shared with you Substack. I'm not here to plug.
I'm
Substack.
excited to check that out.
Listen, I'm only a couple of weeks into it, and the opportunities that it's provided and the time that it's saved, I can now upload any recording or any show from here, and Substack kind of recommends where to place it and where suggests what shorts will work effectively. I know we're getting off track here, but definitely this platform has similar utility, right? It's not exclusively for live. You can record and use your recordings, but it also gives us the opportunity to stream to more than one platform. So most people will jump in front of their cell phone and jump on a TikTok live, jump on an Insta live. But with these platforms like Restream and StreamYard, you can multi-stream and you can be multiple places at once. So for instance, you're multi-streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube. Anywhere else?
Yes. Today, just those two. Yeah.
Okay. And I've also added my channels. So now we're broadening the visibility and the reach. So when you look at how far you can reach, you bring your community and you invite your community to pair up their social channels. And now we've just instantly doubled the audience. You have 10,000 plus followers. I'm just shy of 10,000 followers. We now have an audience of 20,000 people by virtue of using this multi-streaming platform, right? Then there's the invitations. Personalize your invitation. If you want to get the most out of these events,
yes,
be sure, don't just schedule it and set it and forget it. You got to engage, you got to nurture your community, and you got to know, okay, who are we focusing in on? Today's subject matter is ideal for XYZ audience. Make sure you're reaching out to that audience, letting them know that you're going to be live. And if they can't attend, the sheer fact that you reached out and you're nurturing through DMs, guess what? When they have time, they're going to come back and they're going to listen to your show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So there's, pre-live activities to do. And I know one of the things that you always do, and I kind of started implementing that as well, is taking a poll kind of about what the subject of the upcoming live is going to be about. I did take a poll about whether people are thinking about using the stage or if they're already using a stage. I was surprised by the responses. Actually, a lot said that they're already using a stage to promote their business and live events. But then a couple of the other answers were also like, I'm too shy. And we did get a few responses for that. People who are like, maybe that's a good idea for my business, but too shy, at least for that right now. And the other one was.
Go ahead. Right. So in terms of shyness, that's where the versatility comes in. I will lean in on offering audio only for those who are camera shy. And it is just as effective because our voice carries and has authority on its own. So those camera shy who responded to your poll saying, hey, I'm great idea, but I'm not ready. I'm a little shy to get in front of the camera. Don't worry. We can create an audio event where your voice is heard and you're off camera. You don't have to worry about shaving. You don't have to worry about getting your makeup on and just bring your voice. People, we read it. People want authentic. People want authenticity. People want to see and hear us in our vulnerable stages. Hey, our first time we went on camera, if I listen back to our first few episodes, man, it was horrible. when we were excited. Okay,
that's fair.
We were excited at that time. Wow, this was great. But the further you go, you look back, it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I sounded that way. But if you don't start, that's the message. And I'm not here to step on and rain on people's parades, but you got to start somewhere. And you hear the gurus say it, and I'm nowhere near guru status. I'm very microscopic when it comes to influencer status. You won't even find me under a microscope, very likely, but the message resonates and remains the same. Is you got to start, right? And you're going to learn and you're going to evolve, because if you just talk about it and never manifest what you're talking about, then it's all for naught.
Yeah. Speaking of being a micro influencer, someone who's new and just starting, this is episode 11 of this podcast. I made an announcement about some podcast t-shirts that I had just printed to do some promoting.
Hold on, this is a promotion?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So Boomtag is sponsoring this episode? Here's a word from our sponsor.
All right. And then I'm just going to show my t-shirts. Of course, the people who are listening to the podcast are not going to be able to see those t-shirts. But I guess what I'm saying is these are not for sale, but I am trying to bribe you to go to the podcast streaming platforms and leave a review on the Business Boom podcast. So I know a few people had been asking, how can I get a t-shirt? and even asking to purchase them. Well, they're not for purchase, but if you would please do me the favor of going to the podcast platforms and leaving the Business Boom podcast a review, it would be greatly appreciated. Your name will be entered. Those podcast platforms can be a little bit hard sometimes to leave a review for whatever reason. If you don't have an account set up, if you're not logged in correctly, if you have trouble with actually leaving it on a platform and you want to just send me a DM with your thoughts about the podcast that I can use in repurposing and marketing the podcast, you can still be entered that way as well. So that was a total sidebar, Americo. Thanks for putting up with me.
Hey, it's good. Listen, if the market is asking, how do you buy these shirts? Don't turn your back on the market. Give your customers what they want. Yeah. I believe that Leah has a merch line, and
she does. I've been seeing that pop up. So yeah, it may be a future thing, but for right now, it's just they're
just giveaways.
For promotion. They're giveaways. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's jump back into the conversation. I would love, and you kind of just gave a good example of it with your sound effects there. If you would talk about some of the ways that you make stages interactive so that they are memorable.
Well, that is important, right? It's how often have we joined, whether it's an in-person meeting or virtual meeting, and your eyes start to glaze over, and you're there because you want to support someone. You're there because perhaps you thought it was going to be something else, and it's just someone reading slides to you. It's important that you have your event designed so that it's engaging and not just dictating. So it could be visuals. Visuals help the speaker distract them from perhaps other areas, but you also don't want to get distracted where you're leaving your audience behind. It's important to bring your audience into these events and making sure that you're answering questions that might be coming through a live chat or coming through other forms of engagement. You touched on pre and post event. It's important. I'm starting to get in the habit of now reaching out, not only through polls, but I'll send a DM if I recognize someone who signed up, who might be signing up and attending for the first time. I don't recognize them as an audience member or a participant. I'll reach out and share, how delighted I am that they signed up, and ask them if there's anything particular that they want me to bring up on the show. This way, I want to maximize their investment of time, right? So you can limit it to great graphics, sound effects, and overlays, and those are all great visual effects that keep the audience engaged and stimulated. But you also want to keep that human element, and that's that customer experience, a part of me that wants to delight the audience to the best of my ability, making sure that throughout their event journey that they had their answers to the questions that they had in mind. Right? So it's about bundling it so that everyone gets the value that they wanted or expected.
That is the new idea, Americo. I do some pre-live stuff as well, sending out messages, just kind of inviting people. I had never thought about asking them to go ahead and give me their questions there so I can include it on the agenda, because then they're going to feel a lot more invested. A lot of people
absolutely
will
and
reply.
that's what you want, right? When just like posts and just like connection invites, we don't want to be pitched. We don't like the pitch slapping. And they say that if your post is self-promoting, it probably has less traction, less engagement. Same thing with live events. You want to make sure that people are bringing down their guard and they're not going to be pitched or sold something at this event. And you involve them and include them in the process. You reach out, hey, if you have any questions you'd like to share in advance, It'll help me in preparation for the show. This way, you know that the show isn't a canned event with a script. You want to keep it as real and authentic. And if you involve your audience ahead of time, they, like you said, they're going to have a vested interest in wanting to show up. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, guess what they'll do? They will share with their community. This whole UGC movement, people will now repurpose. And you touched on this earlier this week on the whole UGC movement. You shared that pizza clip.
Oh, you saw my Instagram.
Yeah. I did see your Instagram.
That was a fun one. And unfortunately, I couldn't share it to all the platforms. So you'd have to go to Instagram to see that post. But it was really fun. And I don't know if it was AI or if it's an actual pizza place that does that. But either way, it was really fun to have something printed on the inside of the box, a design with a space cut out for your head, that when you open the pizza box, you can take selfies and it looks like you're a character.
But that's a genius way of marketing, and you want to be able to do the same thing with virtual events. You want people to be raving fans and turn around and take your show or your clips and say, "Hey, I just listened to this show," or just reshare it. Hey, follow Kendra. She's got this amazing Business Boom podcast. You're gonna want to listen. I was listening to an episode not too long ago. Highly recommend it. And when people start doing that for you, then you know that you're truly being not only seen and heard, but you're being remembered, and people are looking to help you grow.
Yeah. I hadn't thought so much of the user-generated content with the events and the stages, but that's such a cool topic. And actually, I do a solo podcast in between each interview. So I have a new episode drop every week, and every other alternates with a guest where I get to interview someone like you and have a great conversation. The weeks in between, it's just me, and I do a podcast solo. And my episode for this next one that I'm going to do is user-generated content. So I'm glad that you brought that into the show. That'll kind of give me some more things to talk about when I do my solo episodes. So, I love that. Just how do you think that people could create user-generated content about a show that they just watched? Do you think they would just get on and talk and say, "Hey, I just watched such and such," or are there other things that you could think of as far as generating that kind of content?
Well, here's one thing I'll do, depending on what the event is and what the subject matter is. You can start off by inviting people at the start of your show, saying, "Hey, if you like or align with today's show, share with your community. Share this episode with your community right now. Let them know where you are and invite them to join you." Mm-hmm. And if you get one or two, it's better than not getting any, right? And it's great to see the reposts on your events. Those really light up my eyes.
Me too. Anytime I see someone reposted the event, I'm sending them a voice memo DM, typically saying, "Thank you so much for resharing the event." Like, that is huge. It means a lot.
And then at the end of the event, I've heard this numerous times, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this phrase: "Closed mouths don't get fed." So you're not going to get what you don't ask for. At the end, you ask your audience, whether those of you who have stuck around and watched the live episode, or those who are joining us on Team Replay. If you learned anything or found something valuable, I would really appreciate if you would share that with your community. Mm-hmm. What's one thing you're walking away with? What's one key learning? And share that with your community. And people will do it.
What if you even just ask them to send you a message with the one thing that stuck out to them? Like, I could see that would be a way where they wouldn't even have to generate the content, but you could generate the content later, saying, "This person this follower sent me a message saying that this is what stood out to them on the last live, and just like share it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that as well. Hey, drop your thoughts in the comments. Drop your questions in the comments, drop your feedback in the comments, and then you just take those comments and you repurpose those comments. Here's what one of our listeners had to share with us on our recent episode. Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, since we're talking about the comments, I just want to give that opportunity for people to put their questions for you in the comments. So if you have any specific questions about live events for Americo, please, like right now would be a great time to drop those in the comments so that we're able to go over those before we wrap up the show. So we have this one right now from Leah that she said, great event, lots of golden nuggets. And I think that is very true. Thank you, Leah, for that.
We love golden nuggets. And when our audience sees and recognizes through our words, what we're sharing, and I think Dave says that sharing is caring. And I learned that, just like many of us learn, philanthropy, give information that will help people, and people will return. Like we talk about karma. We're sharing our content, we're sharing our advice on these shows, on different formats in which we share our content. But those who advocate for us will turn around and reciprocate. Like you have to meet Americo. Let me introduce you to Kendra, and that's essentially, we're building community, and how valuable and how important is community, right?
Yeah, we've talked about that LinkedIn effect before, in the way that it just kind of like snowballs, and then pretty soon you have all these great networking connections and lots of people you can reach out to. It's been super helpful for podcast episodes, having this great network that I can reach out to people and ask if they would like to be a guest.
Yeah, and listen, there's another prime example of how people who may not be ready to go into a full production, join these shows. Don't be afraid to be a guest and share someone else's stage. I enjoy bringing people up on my stage and sharing my stage and letting people share their narrative, their story with my community. And once you do enough of that, you're going to fall in love and want to do it for yourself. You're going to want to return that value to your community, and you'll think of perhaps people like myself who can get you set up and get you going, right?
It's great to know other people who aren't shy, too, because you've seen them talking on stages before. So it's like, okay, I know that person is okay with being on stage, being on camera. So even just watching for a while might give you some ideas of people that you can talk to. I see a couple questions rolling in, Americo. So let's start with one of these and we'll move on. See if any others come in as well. But David is asking for a way to evaluate feedback. Now, I'm guessing with your experience with customer experience that you are going to have lots of input on how to evaluate feedback.
Well, that is a great question, Dave. Collecting feedback can happen in a variety of ways. If you visit some of my latest episodes, I've been testing third-party platforms that integrate with events, where we can collect real live feedback, polls, questions, and get a real good understanding of your audience and the sentiment of the audience. There's also the whole traditional, you think of surveys. There's that whole traditional survey opportunity. I've tried that, and no different than in real business, very low participation rate. Once people leave, they're not as inclined to share feedback on the event. They're more likely to do it in comments, likely to engage in real time. So I tested that. It didn't work, but I'm finding that doing it in real time through these engagement tools works. In fact, I'm trying to bring one of the platform that I'm testing onto one of my shows so that they can share their solutions and the value that they bring to live events. So once I'd land that interview, stay tuned and join me for those details. But that is a very good question. Be responsive with your feedback. You know, someone drops it in a comment or sends you a DM, don't ignore it. You know, people typically share feedback with good intentions. They want you to improve. They want you to look at things from a different lens that perhaps you overlooked. So be open to feedback, and don't be afraid to ask. If you didn't get anything during your live event, you know who showed up through engagement, through registration. Reach out, send a DM. Hey, hope you enjoyed our show. If you have any questions, any insights, anything you'd like to share, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your sentiments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good answer. Thank you, Americo.
You're welcome.
I see another one. So let me just bring this other one on the stage from Leah. She says, question, what is the biggest error you see on hosting live video events?
The biggest error, I wouldn't say an error, but what I do see, I'll give you two different extremes. People giving up too quick and not believing that live events work. That is a front-loaded error. You got to give it time. With anything, you got to give it time. And then from a content, too much selling, too much self-promoting is one of the biggest setbacks that I would say grinds my gears. Right? You got to look at this from a social lens. You're here to educate. You're here to draw value. You're here to gain that like, know, and trust that we hear so often. You want people to trust you, and people aren't going to trust you if all you're doing is, hey, here's what I got. I got solutions. I want to sell you my solutions. I want you to buy my solutions. And when it becomes all about me, and what I have to offer you, it isn't as effective. Mm-hmm. Right? If you have an offer, great. Touch on it maybe once, or touch on it after you go live. Reach out to those who attended. Hey, is there anything that we spoke about today that you feel might help gain your visibility, help your business? Would you like to jump on a call? I'm happy to answer questions. Yeah. Just don't do it. Right? You're not the shopping network. Stop saying
right. Right. So what I'm hearing is just like keep the focus on adding the value, and that'll help build the trust, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's awesome. All right. So can you tell us some more about the other shows that you host? Because I know that you have a plethora of other shows. So if you could just give us a quick rundown on the other shows and kind of what they touch on or focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I felt that part of my content strategy was to provide a sample of different types of shows, different types of subject matter, so that I could get wider reach from a wider audience. And so you and I host the strategy session, and we talk about marketing strategy and how customer experience fits into marketing strategy. Also host the storytelling journey, co-host that with Jay Pasqua, and that is purely about storytelling and the importance of bringing your narrative to life, bringing your narrative to your community, to your audience. And once again, social selling. We're not selling anything. We're just bringing our stories. Then we have LinkedIn literacy. You know, people who are focused on going live, that's great. But if you peel back that onion and you peel back the layers deep enough, you got to ask yourself, before you go live, are you ready? How does your social footprint look like? Because you don't want to go live and have people say, wow, that is a great message. Let me go check out Americo's profile. And it's like, oh, wow, that looks nothing and feels nothing like what Americo was saying online. So you got to make sure that, and once again, that's me putting on my customer experience hat. It's got to be seamless. You got to delight your audience at every touch point. So if you're going to go live, you got to make sure that you do the housekeeping that's necessary so that when people visit you, that your message aligns with your persona and your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a fourth show that is branded. It's Journey Logic, and that one, I wouldn't call it a mishmash, but it's more diverse. I just open it to businesses who want to share and demonstrate the value that they bring to communities, other like-minded professionals who would like to come on and talk about, sales, marketing. It's really a catch-all and an opportunity for us to have a conversation about pretty much anything that ties to marketing, sales, and customer experience. It's my personal branded show, and I use that, all four, I use as a demonstration as to what things can look and feel like. And we get a lot of questions. Hey, I like the vibe, the on-camera vibe of the strategy session. It's really masterclass type of conversation. Others, hey, I really like the storytelling. I like the fact that you do it in audio format only. And so there's a sampling. So my shows are more like a sampling platter for people to experience what conversations sound like, what engagement looks like, and what subject matter you can bring to your audience and what value you can bring to your audience.
Yeah. Got a couple questions for you, and then I'm going to ask you about your truth bomb. So this is your forewarning to get ready for that. So as far as the design on the stage, like every show that I've seen that you have done, and this is one of the reasons why when I was ready for my own show, I'm like, okay, I need Americo's help. The introduction and like the stage, and like they're just very vibrant and they're fun and interactive, and I don't see that on all the shows. Can you talk a little bit about like the inspiration and how you go about creating those?
So it's really about trying to match the personalities of those who are speaking with the subject matter. If there's any underlying undertones of the show. So for instance, the strategy session, we started off with that whole Mars vibe. Yeah. And that the story behind the Mars vibe is, sometimes you're going to do something with a marketing strategy and it's going to be out of this world. People are just going to love it, right? And then there are going to be campaigns that you work on where you feel like you're on a planet on your own and no one's really paying attention. So there's a method to the madness. And it's really about matching the personality and matching the show to the subject matter. And I think that's important. I'm glad that you point out, like, there's a lot of people who are missing that. Mm-hmm. It is a great opportunity, and I'm always open to helping people get their stage set and making sure that their first go live is seamless. And then, once you're ready to take the training wheels off, I will take the training wheels off and kind of just send you on your own.
That's so awesome. And they are very custom. So like, I haven't seen one that looks the same, or like, that this was done by a particular person, because it's like got the same feel. Like they all are very unique. So I love that.
Hey, get ready. The uniqueness. You and I were talking about this, and those who are following me have read that a couple of days ago. I started working on. I've been dabbling with Sono and music and creating some AI interpretations. I'm trying to come up with a branded theme song. And I want it to be unique. I want the lyrics to be mine. We dropped a chorus into the Suno prompt, and it gave us some music, and it gave us some great examples and samples to pick from. But I'm inching ever so close to a song that I wrote. They're my own lyrics. They're not AI generated, and I put those lyrics into the AI tool. And get ready. I'm excited. I think I got the one version that I'm happiest with is kind of sitting in my inbox right now, and it might be the one that I go with, but I'll keep refining, keep testing, keep tuning. But get ready. It should be coming out shortly.
That's awesome. I did see that post, and I saw the list of the ones that you had to choose from, the different genres that kind of all had the same lyrics, right? But they were like different styles. That was a lot of fun. And that's another great way to be interactive and asking your audience, which one do you prefer? So you answered the question that I was going to ask, which was about that music. So let's move on to the truth bomb. I don't know if you have sound effects for that or not.
Hold on, let's see what we got here.
Okay. So Americo, if you would just tell us one truth bomb that has to do with being on stage and building your business.
One of the truth bombs is you're going to see this person and you're going to see this big smile. But rest assured, before we go live, there is a big mess going on. The mess is real. The butterflies are real, but there's nothing that excites me more that when you click that go live button, those butterflies just leave. So believe in yourself, trust yourself, and the truth bomb is live up to your dreams, and you will be seen, be heard, and be remembered.
Awesome. Couldn't have said that better. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking the time to be on the show today. I really appreciate it because I know you're busy doing lots of other live events. Would you tell the audience real quick how they can find you, where they should follow you, and all the ways that they can reach out if they're in need of your help?
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Americo DaCosta, my company, Journey Logic, website, journeylogic.ca. Listen, it's not going to be hard to find a name like Americo DaCosta. I'm not a John Smith. Enter in Americo. Yes, there are more Americos than I originally thought. But Americo DaCosta, it is a short list. You will find me. And I'm happy to jump on a call, answer whatever questions people have, and demonstrate the possibilities and back up with quantifiable data that will show the return on your investment when it comes to virtual live events.
Perfect. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today, but thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us live and who listens to the replay.
Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week's Business Boom podcast. You've got the spark. Now go light up your business with what you have learned. If you like what you heard today, hit that subscribe button, drop us a review, or tell a fellow entrepreneur about the show. Keep pushing, keep growing, and catch us next week for more booming business strategies.